close to me, I'll dump my stuff. Don't show them what I'm doing. Inside my dummy rod, and on my dummy rod was a jig, big old black and blue jig, which is a great big bass bait. And Gene had a huge rattle trap like that. And so here this moron just kept getting closer to us and closer to us and closer to us. So I grabbed up my dummy bait and I started putting that jig about that close to his nose. I'd cast it, right at the guy, stop it, drop it. So I'm pushing him off of me, right? And so Gene starts throwing that rattle trap at him. So we're both throwing lures within inches of this guy's face to back him off of us. As soon as he backed off, I'm reeling in my dummy bait real quick to go back to fishing big line bait. And Gene's sitting there, pulling. I said, what are you doing? He said, I got a fish. I said, you got a car hood, we were in big mean water. And he's sitting there fighting around and just getting his rear kicked. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, he's got a fish. So I grabbed the net. And I've got a big net. I mean, a big net. And we catch big fish. And I'm watching. And he's fighting it. And I don't know if y'all use the rattle trap much. When you're fishing a rattle trap, you can hear it. When a fish has got it, you don't. But when it shakes its head and it's out of water, you'll hear it a little bit. So I'm not hearing the rattle trap. And I'm watching his rod. He's on a bait caster, 17-pound test. And he's coming around, and all of a sudden I look, and here's a smallmouth alongside the boat. I wished I'd have had my 9mm out and shot. It was that big. It was huge. And Gene was coming like this, where I was coming with a net, and I heard rattles. And that rattle trap came out of its mouth. He pulled against that heavy current too much. And treble hooks come out anyway. But there was just that second, freeze frame. He never saw the fish. I saw it. And my stomach just turned knots. So there's big fish in there to the point. When I say my stomach turns knots, there's times that I'm using bait. Big bait. Big, crazy, what is he doing? Bait. Half-pound stuff. 3/4 pound. When I get a hit, my stomach starts going in knots before I set the hook, because I'm like, what's he going to do to me now? What's going to happen right here? Will it jump and throw it? Or whatever. So, answering the question, I use big stuff. This is a worm. Fillet. So there's not a hook in this. No.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
That's what I use on smallmouth. It's heavy duty. Come here and feel it. See, he's holding it right. Pull against me. Well, no. So that's what I use for smallmouth. Huh? This is the rod I use for smallmouth bass.
So, what reel do you have on that right now?
Quantum. Yeah, it's a 30. So this quantum set, and we fish a lot of quantum. Eight, 10, and 12. You don't have to tell you on here, but I'll put 14 or 17 on this in a second. Hey, listen, when y'all rig your open face spinning, this is open face spinning, stop. Leave 1/8 of an inch from the lip. If you spool all the way up, you're going to get tangles. You'll open your bail, the line just falls off. Stop 1/8 of an inch. But put your line, always, I'm a line nut, changing line. Okay, because of these fish that I'm talking about, And because I tournament bass fish, I change line a lot. My knots, I use a Palomar knot. You know how it's double? Knots have cost me fish. Bad lines cost me fish. My nerves have cost me fish. We got some big smallies. I mean big smallies. All right, let's do question and answers.
I don't know about the Greenville, but you fished the Chucky up that far.
I don't. I have never fished an old Chucky. No. It's kind of weird. I've got friends that fish it and they do extremely good on it. He fishes it. How many fish you caught over 9 on it? How many fish you caught over 8 on it? How many fish you caught over 7 on it? See why I don't fish an old Chucky? So, here's the crazy thing. It's in this river, west prong and the middle prong, in the spring and in the fall. Then it's back to the French Broad. I think why our smallmouth are so big is number one, genetics. Tennessee is where smallmouth is king. And walleye. World record smallmouth, world record walleye come out of Tennessee. Those are considered northern strain fish. This is their southernmost. So of course they grow the largest here. They have the longer time of eating, but we have the genetics, all right? But what we also have is the most biodiverse place on the planet in the northern hemisphere, right there. So that gives these fish so much to eat. But Greg, you said they just eat minnows. Right. But you know how many different kinds of minnows we have? You think, oh, well, they're just eating shad. No, no. They're eating blah, 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 which is the best bait in the world. Then they're eating hog suckers, stone rollers, threadfin shad, gizzard shad, shiners, golden shiners, trout. They eat rainbow trout. They eat everything. The state came in and stocked a bunch of little rainbows below Douglas about 10 years ago. It was so funny. They fed the walleye. There's stripers that run up there in the spring from Loudon. The smallies, the largemouth. I mean, it was a trip out there. When I would be out trolling for walleye, you just hear smash, smash, all the fish eating those trout. They went in all their wisdom and put in like 20,000 7-inch rainbow trout. It was like ringing the dinner bell for the predators on the French Broad. There's a trick. So yeah, they eat. Would I fish for a smallmouth with a 7-inch rainbow trout in a second? Is it legal? Yeah, if I caught the trout. I would have to caught it, you know, and it'd be part of my daily freedom limit. Then I could use it. I have to reread the rules. You know, the state changes the rules every month, it seems like. Back when I was your age, you got the rules and regulations, and you had hunting on, got a card, you put it in your wallet, had hunting on one side, flip it over, fishing on the other. Now it's a 150-page book. So you have to have a lawyer interpret what they're trying to say in that 150 pages of nonsense and rules and regulations we have now. Good luck. But, okay, do question and answers on them.
Are they good to eat?
So, shooting. You got a gun? Just shoot him in the leg first.
So,
I didn't hear that, right? Did you say eat a smallmouth? There's crappie, there's trout, there's walleye, there's yellow perch, there's bluegill. Smallmouth have this contaminant in them that is deadly poison. You can't eat it.
When you was talking about this morning on the trout fishing, you were, really talking big on the rooster tail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say that, we're fishing smallmouth, and we're not after the big one. We're after the 1, 2, 3 pounders.
Mm-hmm.
How does the rooster tail work?
It works good, but I'd probably throw a grub. Hey, look, artificial. So let's go over artificials on smallmouth. My fake bait is not a fake bait. That black and blue jig, that black and blue rattle jig, ooh, goodness gracious. You can catch it. So what you're intimidating, you're trying to make it look like a crayfish, or I do. You know what I mean? So when I'm fishing, I think, if somebody asks me, how do you think like a worm? I'm thinking at the end of my line, what's going on right there, where my bait is. Whether it's a plastic worm, whether it's a grub, whether it's a jig, whether it's a minnow, right? So you got to stay in contact with all that stuff. And it's with your fingertips. Fishing is your brain, your eyes, and your fingertips. A lot of people use grubs, sluggo things. All right, Dennis, name 3 or 4.
You got the Zoom, makes
You
fluke.
gotta speak up.
Zoom makes a real good swim bait, jerk bait. It's a fluke.
The fluke. Okay, that's what the game. David Sexton's our local game warden. His brother comes up. I took him once, and now he does it. I mean, he does hammer these smallies. He fished the fluke. So there's multiple things. Grubs have always been fished good for smallmouth. Spinner baits have always worked good for smallmouth. Smallmouth will crush topwater. When I was a kid, and that's his age, dogwoods blooming, red buds, man, I'm out throwing an 11 centimeter floater pipe. That's what I'm fishing for. I've got boxes of them and boxes of them. I still have some of the old Finland, made in Finland, rapalas, rapala, whatever you want to call it. But I use the 11 centimeter. Not playing games. I catch smallmouth this big on the 11 centimeter.
Oh, yeah.
So, any lures work great on smallmouth. I prefer a jig, and I do love topwater, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be that powerful.
How do you keep your bait alive, like with shad and all that?
Okay. You buy a really good shad net. Or you make it. To keep bait alive, you have to use aerators, you have to be able to chill your water. There's multiple ways you can chill your water. I use frozen water bottles and aerator. You need a circle. If you put them in a square, they'll all go to the corners just like little baby chicks. Everything has to be in a circle. Not they'll go to the corner and die. And don't overload. When you get bait, get how much bait you need. Don't put too much bait in your container. You kill them that way. And death promotes death. You got something dead in your tank, throw it out. Because it's going to promote that. But it takes a while to learn. Put blue in it. Salt helps a little bit. I use saltine crackers for the salt, but also it's got oil on it, so it'll knock down they'll foam up. There's a lot of little tricks to it. I use heavy duty aeration, just simply because what I'm using for bait with clients and when I go. It needs great aeration. And I actually use an old cooler. maybe keep the water even colder.
You said you were using minnows like crayfish, not on floats. You're waiting, putting them on the bottom.
Mhm. But I have a real difficult time fishing crayfish without using a float. I use a float all the time. Not all the time, but a lot. And crayfish are going to dig down. I mean, you have to float in. Depending on where you're at, what kind of volume of water, you can fish it without one. But I use a float more than you think. I use it quite a bit. And there's times I don't. But most of the time I do.
Most of your smallmouth then are close mid-water down.
They hang the structure. They hang down toward the bottom. I mean, just a minute ago I was talking about, I was sitting in my boat fishing 6 foot deep. Where I was sitting was probably 8 foot. But where I was drifting to came up to 4 or 5, right? So, no, they're all over the place. And actually, the kind of bait I'm using, if the smallmouth was over there where she is and the water was clear, and I hit right here and it was drifting, it would come from there and eat that bait. Just a really good bait. And they'll come from a distance and slam a repellent. Sometimes you have to force feed them, put it right on. Like this cold water. Actually, this time of year, right now for the next month, it's good smallmouth. The thing to use is a hair jig, bucktail jig. Like a black or a brown bucktail jig on that easier rod, 8-pound cast, and hopper. You know, you're doing a crayfish, a great bait for smallmouth. All the way through February. And the crazy thing about it is you want a bluebird day, high sun bluebird day when you want to go. You know, you see in February, you get the blue sky, bluebird, beautiful day, sunny. Go throw a hair jig in the deep holes in Sevier County, Tennessee, if you can find it. I like the 1/8 ounce and 1/4 ounce bucktails. And the plastic ones will work. But I like those hair jigs better in February. January and February. March rolls around, it's time to start looking at bait, at live bait. Because they're coming in March, they start. Second big rolling mud flood we get, they start turning their noses up and coming up the river. It's weird. The West Prong, should I say this? The West Prong of the Little Pigeon River runs 7 degrees warmer than the Middle Prong. That's because of Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. The West Prong of the Little Pigeon River runs through Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. So, of course, it's going to run warmer than the Middle Prong, which runs through Pigeon. There's not as much asphalt. There's not as much things to heat the water. So, when the smallmouth come up out of the broad, they come to the West Prong first to spawn. And then you've got fish that are coming to the Middle Prong. And then you get fish that are in transition between the two. So we have an actual longer period of large amounts of smallmouth coming up the river because the West Prong runs 7 degrees warmer. You see what I mean? You've got 2 different runs. Actually, you have 3. You have the West Brom run, you have the Middle Brom run, and you have the Little Pigeon run. They spawn in the Little Pigeon too, where the two come together. Okay, but those first fish coming in the river come into the West Brom. How many fish in Sevier County, Tennessee that are mounted? If you go in and there's an old smallmouth mounted somewhere, I'll bet you $100 bill it came from within eyesight of Hardy's in Sevierville. Guarantee it. So that's where all the old timers fish. Just a bunch of fish there. Or say within eyesight of the Sevier County, the courthouse. A bunch of fish. But you get all three there. You get the fish going in the West Brom, you get the fish going in the Middle Brom, you get the fish in the Little Pigeon. All three right there. And then there is a fall run too. They come in the fall. It's not near as strong as.
5 minutes. 5 minutes would be one.
It's 5 to 1.
Well, actually, it's 1 to 1. 1 minute till 12:59.
Question and answers. We can stay over a little bit. Get a rest this time. Are there people trying to come through on us? It's best to ask questions.
I know you talked about you like live bait, like crawdads. What about the plastic imitations of those?
That's what a black and blue jig is.
Yeah. Okay.
The black and blue rattled jigs I fish are imitating crayfish.
Okay.
In the rattles, I use rattles. I swear I think it scares the small fish off. But a grub, the way you fish a grub, you're imitating a crayfish. But actual crayfish imitations, sure. As long as you're imitating what a crayfish does, which I do with a jig, I do with a grub. Flukes, you're imitating a minnow. So all those things, in an 11 centimeter floating pallet looks like a minnow. So all those things I mentioned in the artificials, or you're imitating one of two, either crayfish or minnows. Yeah, all of them that I said.
Are you using weedless hooks? Do you use weedless hooks?
No. You'd be surprised what I use. I use real heavy duty stuff. Yeah, I've been broke off. I've had smallmouth break a bronze hook. I've had smallmouth break a number 4 Eagle Claw 084. Break the bronze hook. And what do? You shoot them. I'm gonna start shooting the damn thing. No, it's amazing. I can't wait. I haven't had a chance to really get on them for a couple of years. I've caught them, and I've caught some 5s and stuff, but I haven't been able to get out in my boat and do what I need to do. And it's just going through the stuff I've been going through, but I'm feeling better, and I'm going to put it on this spring. I want to get out there. I'd like to take the whole year and just strictly smallmouth fish. I think I could then sell one to Ripley's and sell one to Johnny Morris at Bass Pro. If I had a whole year to do nothing but smallmouth fish, I actually can think of about 100 yards of water that I would like to spend all that time on too.
So you float it versus wading? That's mainly what you do, you float instead of wade?
Huh?
So you float versus wade? Do you ever wade in smallmouth fish?
I try not to wade anymore. I used to wade a lot. I mean, I really used to wade a lot. But I fished out of boats. I had a boat when I was his age, you know. So I fished a lot out of boats, and I waded. And I fished from shore. I fished from shore a lot. You know, you got muck boots on. you gotta get in there on them, but when I'm after the really big fish, I'm not being a boat. I mean, and from shore. The dam being tore down, I can't tell you how much that's gonna be a game changer. Things that couldn't get up are gonna be up. And that's including very big smallmouth. I was doing a thing with the BBC back years ago on smallmouth. And I had an 8-pound fish. And it was at Rex McCarter's. This is right where the Walden's Creek comes into the river. And Ogle's Water Park spilled 10,000 gallons of sodium hypochlorite in the river that spring and killed all my fish. All of them. All the smallmouth. Through the river system. And then they did it again in May. That's the biggest thing I've ever seen on smallmouth. On Wacomouth was 10,000 gallons of sodium hypochlorite. All right, throw one in here, guys. Here's my card. We teach fishing. We don't fish. That's why I try to tell everybody. People don't pay us to watch us fish. We don't fish for clients, we teach fishing. We fish when we go. When I take clients, it's all about teaching clients. But here's some cards.